Hey, seventh graders, Mr. Allard with one of your flip lessons. Had to make a new video for checks and balances because realized we did that one in class. So this video is going to talk all about how one branch can stop another branch from overpowering or becoming tyrannical over the others. Lots of questions have been coming up. No, you do not have to um, put anything in your interactive notebook on this. Should we return for class, I will give you everything that you need to put in your interactive notebook. And basically, the first day we come back, that's all we're going to do is put stuff in our interactive notebook because I can't print them out and get them to you. You can, if you'd like, to use them for your quizzes, to use them for your other assignments. You can jot down the notes on a separate sheet of paper. I have given you some study guides in there as well that you can use to help you answer questions as well. All right, well, here we go. And here to help me, as always, is my lovely assistant. Robbie. So Robbie's going to help us go through checks and balances. So first of all, let's talk about what checks and balances are, all right? They're created to stop any branch of government from becoming too powerful. We talked about this. I think this is a better way to say it. Instead of thinking of it as checks and balances, think of it as check then balance. So basically, think of some instances where one government branch has tried to do something they're not supposed to do. The other branch steps in and balances the power out. Okay, so for example, maybe Congress passes a law that says the president doesn't have any powers. Well, there's a bunch of ways that the president can stop that from happening. There's some ways that the judicial branch can stop that from happening. So they would check it and then balance that power back up and not let any of the branches take over another one. Right? Anything you want to add, assistant? He's trying to kick the computer away. No, he's fine. All right, so let's talk first about the legislative branch. Now, the legislative branch has a bunch of checks to the founding fathers. Now, I'm not going to say they're the most powerful branch, but I'm going to say that they were what the founding fathers thought would be the. I think our assistant needs a little bit of a break here. All right, I think our assistant needed a little bit of a break there. But what I was saying was the founding fathers thought that Congress was probably going to be the most important. This was the branch that was going to be doing a lot of the work of government. Not the most powerful, because as we can see, the checks can come from either way. So, how can they check the president? Well, number one, the president has a big check that they can do on a bill that is passed by Congress. They can veto that, which basically cancels it out. With a two-third majority, the Congress can override that. Any person that the president chooses to be a judge, to be a member of his cabinet or his or her cabinet, to be a position within the government, and any position is approved by Congress. The president can negotiate a treaty, as we talked about in the other video. The Congress can ratify or approve that treaty. The Congress, if the president is doing something he or she should not be doing, can impeach the president. We saw the Congress try to do that with President Trump. The Congress can declare war. It is not up to the president to declare war on another country. And the Congress controls money, so the president can say they want to do something, but it's the Congress's job to fund that. Kind of the same thing on the judicial branch side. The Congress, we got some that aren't underlined here. They can approve judges on the judicial side, so the president can name those judges, but again, Congress approves them. They can create a lower court. All right, Supreme Court is already there, but they could create any lower courts or remove any lower courts, just like they can impeach a member of the executive branch. They can impeach a member of any judge of any court, And they haven't really done this before, but they could amend the Constitution to override a judge's decision. So, for example, if the judge rules against something that Congress did, they could create an amendment to the Constitution which would overrule that, and the judicial branch could not do anything about that. So, you're probably starting to think, well, the Congress has a whole bunch of powers. Well, the executive branch can come in and check that congressional powers in a number of ways. Number one, they cannot pass a law, all right, or create a law, but they can propose, and I should have that say bill there. Actually, let's change that because it's not a law yet, and we'll have another video on that. So they can propose a bill, so the president can do that. So that it's not just the Congress proposing all of them. The president can have some say in that. The president can veto a bill from Congress, which basically rejects it and makes them start the whole process of creating a bill over again. So you could have 435 yeses on a bill, one no from the president. You got to start it all over again. They can call a special session of Congress. What the heck does that mean? Basically, it means the president can say, no, you can't go home, Congress, until you have figured out what to do on this bill. And the president gets to negotiate treaties. So the president is the one that goes and negotiates with those foreign countries on agreements from everything from trade treaties, treaties to end wars, all sorts of different stuff. The president also can check the power of the judicial branch. He or she gets to appoint judges. That's why whenever we have a Supreme Court member retire, it's always a big deal because the president gets to appoint one of those judges, and we'll talk. And as we talked about in other videos, a judge is a judge for life. They can stay as long as they want, as long as they're not doing crazy stuff and get themselves impeached. So that's a pretty big appointment. They can also pardon criminals, or basically give up or allow criminals to kind of say, oh, no, the get out of jail free card, so to speak, which will typically override a decision from the judges. Now remember, that's not just the Supreme Court, okay? That's lower courts at the federal level, okay? We got some that we didn't underline here again. Making it as we go, that's okay. So that may make you think, well, the judicial branch is kind of weak because they don't have a say who gets chosen. They don't have a say on pretty much anything. They've got one trick, and it's a pretty big trick. Okay, so first off, they have a check on the legislative branch by declaring any law unconstitutional. At this point, it has become a law. It has been passed by Congress. It has been signed by the president, and somebody somewhere brings a legal action, and the Supreme Court doesn't have to hear it. They choose to hear their own cases. Their decision is going to be law of the land for a long time. Let's think of why it'd be law of the land for a long time. Number one, these men and women serve for life, so you're probably not going to rule one way and then a couple years later say, you know what, we were wrong. It's going to take some time. So to give you an example, our schools used to be segregated. That meant that there were white schools and there were schools for African Americans. That decision was made in Plessy versus Ferguson in the 1890s. Okay? Now today we look at that as a pretty crazy idea. That law did not get overturned until 1954 with the Brown versus Board of Education decision, which said it is not okay to segregate schools. That took almost 60 years for that decision to get changed. Okay? That's the type of time we're talking about. When the Congress makes a decision, it usually lasts for a generation or two. They can do the same thing to executive action. So one thing the president can do is called an executive order. If he or she makes an executive order and that gets, somebody questions it, the Supreme Court can hear it and say that the president can or cannot do that specific thing. And again, when they make that decision, it sticks, because how long does the judicial branch, the Supreme Court, serve? For life. All right, that's our flip lesson for today. Again, if you have any questions, send me a message on Schoology, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Allard out.